Hey, Matt here, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this writing assignment for week 2. So, I want you to read Barbara Ehrenreich's short work in our textbook, and it's titled "How I Discovered the Truth About Poverty." 2.5, 3 pages long, maybe 4. I need you to read those pages slowly and carefully, and then once you've read it through and thought about it a little bit, for the writing assignment, I want you to pick one sentence from her short essay that you think is full of meaning. And I want you to quote that in your essay, and I want you to unpack it for me. Tell me what it means. Tell me what it means to you. Uh, Tell me whether it's relevant now. Tell me how you've seen this maybe in your own life or in people's lives that are close to you. So you get to pick the sentence, but be careful here because you want to pick the sentence that's going to allow you to write a little bit about it. It's sort of like maybe picking your favorite quote. I think we all have our favorite quotes, and if you have a favorite saying, you might explain it to someone by saying, well, here's the saying, and here's what I think it means to me, and here's how I've used it, here's how it's helped me, here's how I've shared it with others, here's what, that sort of thing. So try to find some insight that Ayn Rand has that she expresses in one sentence. Bring it to your essay, quote it, and then talk about it. All right. Now, this essay needs to be 400 words long as a minimum. And what I need you to do is at the end of your essay, after you produce a works cited entry, please put a word count statement. Just go ahead and say word count equals 420 words or whatever. All right. And that is going to be very helpful to me. Okay. But what else does this essay need? I want you to produce a title, and then I want you to make sure that you, somewhere at the beginning of your essay, you have a sentence to the effect, or a sentence that says, you open up by saying, in her short essay on poverty, comma, quotation marks, how I discovered poverty, close quotation marks, Barbara Ehrenreich has a poignant saying about, or says the following, whatever, colon, and then use quotation marks and go ahead and quote it, okay? Now, when it comes to page numbers and that sort of thing, be sure at the end of the quote to put parentheses, open parentheses, and then the page number and close parentheses, okay? But, what page numbers do you have? You have this book, all right? And this book, towards the end, is a collection of essays. So I'm completely okay if you need to consider this book an anthology, okay, when you are citing it as a works cited entry at the bottom. You're giving all that book information, the name of the author of the book, or the authors, in this case 2 authors, the title of the book, that sort of thing, right? So you need to cite it as an anthology, and I want you to go ahead and go to the Purdue site, the online writing lab at Purdue, and I want you to be able to go to the MLA formatting section and to find the works cited section of that, and then in that works cited section of the manual, online manual, go ahead and find the link that says edited books, and once you look through that, find the anthology. Okay, so Barbara Ehrenreich's short essay is an essay in a collection of larger essays, of other essays in a larger book. Okay, and MLA will show you how to start with Barbara Ehrenreich's name, and then the name of the essay, and then it'll show you how to deal with the book itself and the editors or the authors of the book. It's a bit challenging, but the real skill here, okay, I want to spend a few more minutes talking about the method that I want you to be learning here. The real skill when it comes to this sort of thing, you know, quotation marks, the parentheses for the in-text citation of the page number that has that sentence that you want to use, and then at the bottom the works cited. The real skill is to learn how to make the online manuals, like I'm calling the Al Purdue site an online manual, but to learn how to make those sites give you the answer that you need. You shouldn't be memorizing this stuff. You should just be learning how to recognize the source. This is a bit challenging here, so I'm telling you, you need to consider it as an anthology. And then you need to go into MLA and find that source so that you can open the page and see all the examples they give you, and then carefully copy the example, imitate it with the titles that you have in this book. Okay, that's the real skill, because you might in in another class they might be asking you to do documentation work in a whole different system. Maybe it's APA, maybe it's Chicago, maybe it's Turabian, maybe it's a council of biology editors. It could be all sorts of things, and it's just overwhelming if you're trying to memorize this stuff. It's not about memorization. It's about effectively using manuals, whether they're handheld manuals or online manuals. So your big job here, well, part of it, right, and wrapped up in this writing assignment, is to see if you can figure out how to make al.purdue.edu or al.english. I mean, they renamed it, but the link that's in our module will take you right to it. How to make that website work for you. Okay. All right. Now, a word about the reading. This is a dense textbook, and when you have a lot of pages to read, you need to allot time for that, and you need to honor the process by definitely spending some time there, because your vocabulary is going to grow, your sense of sentence crafting is going to grow, and your concentration should be growing too, because you're going to have to pay attention to the instructional parts of this book. It's pretty dense, as I said before. But I also want to suggest something to you too. You need to be experimenting with different types of reading. Sometimes there's a slow read you need to embrace. So I believe that Ehrenreich's essay is a slow read, okay? But at other times, you might actually be able to cull or to harvest the ideas from the reading by skimming it, or by reading half and then making sure that the other half is not necessarily saying anything new, but just exemplifying what you read. Sometimes you begin to realize that you can read a paragraph and skip a paragraph and read a paragraph and skip a paragraph, because you can see that you are still following the main thoughts of the writer of those pages that you're asked to look to. So in order to just, it's a defense mechanism, isn't it? I mean, this is just one class of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 that you have on top of work and other things too. How are you going to handle all of this? You got to be able to develop some effective ways to do some speed reading, some skip reading, where you're actually strategically skipping some parts, some skimming, things like that. Okay, so when I ask you on the quiz, did you read all the pages? I really do want you to read most of them, and or at least half, but then to physically manage your vision over the rest of the pages, whether it's skimming or skip reading. I mean, work through those pages. But if you need to practice speed reading, if you need to practice skimming, when you have a sense that this is a passage that I can read a little faster, or maybe I can skip, as long as you get that sense and then you come back to the text a little bit afterwards, I'm okay with that, okay? Because you're going to have to learn how to read faster without losing a lot. So I do give you 5 minutes on the reading quizzes, and if there's a question there that is like, oh yeah, I remember he's asking me about the specific detail. The reason I ask about details is that I really want to make sure that you are paying attention to the reading and trying to get it done. But if you're practicing with skimming or speed reading, you will be able to say, I think I saw that on this page, and then you can go and look for it, and maybe you'll find it within the time limit. Okay, so these are open book quizzes. And I'm not interested in developing some overcomplicated quizzing system that just adds more to the weight of this class that doesn't necessarily have to be there. I really want you to engage the reading and to do it, and then to also practice when you feel like there are areas that you can do this in: speed reading and skip reading, skimming, okay? just to be able to handle the text. It's a big book, isn't it? So please be aware that that's how I'm thinking about this. As far as the format of this paper, I definitely would like a title, and then I would like at least, I think, 2 paragraphs, 3, 4. I don't think you need more than 4 because, well, maybe 5, but it's short. This is a short paragraph, a short essay. And somewhere up front early, I would like the name of Barbara Ehrenreich, the name of her essay, so that you orient the reader as to what you're working with. See, we all know that I've read it, you've read it, right? But I don't want you to write to me necessarily. Obviously, you are writing to me, but I want you to imagine that you're actually writing for a magazine or a newspaper. And you shouldn't assume that the readers of those articles will have read what you read. So if you're going to mention something like this, you got to introduce it to them. You got to say, this is the name of the author, this is the name of the work, this is kind of what it was about, and here's a really poignant sentence that she said. Here it is, and this is what I think it means. So be sure that you introduce the work you're dealing with somewhere in the first paragraph of your essay. About pronouns, I am completely okay if you want to use I, me, my as you write this essay. Okay, so there are a lot of old and outdated rules of writing that somehow teachers feel very connected to. Some teachers do. But the only test that you need to worry about is what is actually working. Excuse me, I just wanted to grab some books I was working with. What's working for the non-fiction publications that are being developed and sold. So if the first person pronoun is showing up in these books, why in the world would I tell you not to use it? This is professional writing. This is very high level nonfiction writing for the reading public on a national level, on an international level. I mean, they're written in English, but they're high quality work, but they're not necessarily your academic research work, but they are written by professionals in the field that are trying to take ideas and make them accessible to the reading public, to everyone, right? So there's style, there's craftsmanship there's wordsmithing, there's substance analysis, treatment of complicated subjects in a way that the layperson can understand it. Tremendous skill. And there is the first person pronoun running all over the pages. I'm talking about the I, the me, the my. So when you're writing, feel free to say, I think this means this. I saw this. I believe, in my opinion. Absolutely. Go for it, okay? So put the work into this. I hope that you learn a little bit and find something really that somehow connects with you in this essay so that years later you can, if you don't remember anything else, maybe you can remember, that sentence from Barbara Ehrenreich. I highly recommend her work, by the way. She's an incredible writer. I have a lot of writers and authors that I like to read, and I've sort of ranked them, and she's in the top 1 or 2 ranks. And I recommend her book, Natural Causes. I recommend her book, Nickel and Dimed. Be a great topic to research. I especially recommend Living with a Wild God. What a writer she is. So this is not necessarily her bread and butter style. She has written a lot of work that is out there in the mainstream reading public. But this illustrates more of an analysis, academic analysis that she can bring to the table. But definitely a writer I highly recommend. So I hope that this is profitable to you. Okay, take care.